You alright, fuckers and fuckheads. Now, this ain't for most of y'all. This is my personal message to Mr. Obama. And I should mention ahead of time that I pose no threat to Mr. Obama in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I mean, there's not a politician in this world that's worth any jail time to me. However, all that being said, there's things about Mr. Obama's first term in office that really bother me. Not just the executive orders, not just, he signed off on this NDAA, which allows for the indefinite detention of American citizens, which, okay, I'm sorry, the America that I grew up in, without trial, but the indefinite detention of American citizens without trial. The America I grew up in, that shit would have never been signed. Because, stop me if I'm wrong, it's been one of the principles of America that we as Americans are guaranteed the right to a fast and speedy trial. We've got an executive order by you there, Mr. Obama, that makes it unlawful to speak against the government. Hold on. That's on damn TV. Thought that was mine. But now, I can see something like a terroristic threat being illegal. I'm going to, if someone said, I'm going to bomb a government building, okay, I can see, put them in a psych ward or something like that, figure out if they're really going to do it or not. If someone says, man, I'd love to see them motherfuckers just blown off the face of the earth, that shouldn't be illegal. If someone says, and the problem with that executive order is I could say something like, I think Mr. Obama's doing an absolutely shitty job, which would be a true and correct statement. I do believe you'd be doing a shitty job there, Mr. Obama. I really do. But a statement like that, the way that was written so poorly, okay, there's 5 years just for saying something like that. And quite frankly, freedom of speech is one of the things guaranteed in the Constitution, and I count that executive order as a direct infringement upon its freedom of speech. There was an executive order issued which basically says, African American kids gonna get more stuff because they're supposedly more challenged than anyone else, so they're gonna get more in schools than the rest of the kids. Well, I'm sorry. See, this is America, and those African American kids have the same chance as everyone else, and they had a hell of a lot better chance than I did. See, while they've at least got a little ghetto or something to live in, or a house, or, whatever, inner city neighborhoods, suburbs, well, the black kids in the suburbs generally belong to working class black folks, and, they tend to raise their kids' rights. And the black kids in the ghetto, yes, I agree, they're generally scum of the earth, but so are the white kids in the ghetto. In fact, I would have more faith in the black kid saying that he's going to have the money on Tuesday than I would the white kid. Because the black parents at least raise them to be basically honest. They do teach them. And I'm just using the ghetto example. But the white ghetto kids, they're not raised to be basically honest. They're, well, when you grow up, you can get on welfare. You can steal shit. And anyway, we all have the same chance here in America. We all have the same chance to fail. It's a matter of whether or not we take that chance, whether or not we take that opportunity. Yeah, I left home when I was 12 years old, and I ain't done the best in the world. I ain't no rich man. I'm comfortable. That's about it. Federal government, that's another thing, Mr. Obama. You said that this healthcare bill and all these other tax increases you were doing would not hurt the American making less than $250,000 a year one single dime. Well, I actually believe that you were telling the truth on that one, because it wasn't one single dime. It was a shitload of fucking dimes. My taxes this year are 71.2% of my income gone. Now that number does include my property taxes, because there's still taxes I have to pay. 71.2. Now, a couple years ago when we sat down and figured it out, it was 68.4% of my income was gone every year. So, you raised the taxes a shitload of dimes there, because at the state level I don't think we've had any tax increases, and I know damn well I got my taxes knocked down with the county, so there's probably really more of a difference there in the percentage of my income that's gone every year. And I'm not the only one in this situation. There are many people that own more than one building and don't really make the kind of money they should have to be owning that building. You can only homestead one. And anything after that, you're going to get bent over, and them motherfuckers ain't even going to use no grease when they're writing that tax bill. And this is what comes out of my income before I pay 7% sales tax on everything I go buy. This is what comes out of my income before I pay sales tax and federal excise tax on every tire I buy. This is before I pay federal and state tax on every gallon of gas I buy. This is before I pay taxes, fees, and pre-disposal penalties for some of the chemicals that I use to restore motorcycles. I have to pay on every bit of oil 10 or 20 cents. I don't know if it's by the quarter or the gallon, but I saw that on my bill one day, because I buy a lot of fucking oil. I mean, I'm going through 3 and 4 55-gallon barrels of Dello 400 every couple of months. I have gone through as many as 5 barrels in a month, but that's because for the past couple of years I've been preserving some of my engines. Just literally buying an oil barrel, using whatever oil I want out of them, and when they get down about, if the barrel's that tall, I'll let it get down there about that far from the top, or it depends on the size of the engine. If I've got a few little ones, I might let it get down to as low as a third before I start putting my engines in it. But I use that oil in other motorcycles that are running. And literally, I do oil changes for people sometimes for free, because I can. And I'm getting it cheap enough that, they should at least buy me a soda, maybe smoke a fat one with me, but, which by the way, this is some African plant and it's got a Brazilian plant in there. Shit's pretty good. You ain't gonna get wasted on it, but you ain't gonna get no headache either, and it's 100% natural. It's 2 plants, and apparently neither one of them are really toxic, so. And it has legal in all 50 states, it says it on the package. But compared to all them, by the way, you folks that are doing them chemical marijuana alternatives, this shit's a lot safer. This shit's safer than tobacco. And I've done a lot of studying on it. It just comes in a little gold foil packet. But as far as I know, there's only 2 or 3 of them that are all natural out of there. And different shit hits people's bodies different, but I think what they do is they've got plants that one of them has, there's only 2 ingredients to THC that get you high. And I think what it is one of the plants has one ingredient and the other plant has the other ingredient. So you don't really have actual THC, but you just have the 2 ingredients that get you high. Yes, I've been studying those plants as well. Because I like to know what I'm putting in my body. And on par with cigarettes, you'd have to smoke about 18 cigarettes to equal one of this. Anyway, back half-ass on topic here. You know, Mr. Obama, many things that you have done, I mean, this health care bill. You know, I don't care that you lied to the people when you said that the cost of health insurance would not go up. I mean, yes, it bothers me. It kind of leaves a greasy feeling around my asshole in the morning, you know what I'm saying? Because I pay my daughter's health insurance because she doesn't have that crazy deal that I got. That shit went up. And I kind of half-ass thought bullshit when you were saying it back in 2008. Because I knew back then, knew long ago, that every single state where they've ever forced people to buy car insurance, made car insurance mandatory, what have the insurance companies done? They've gone, fuck, we've got a captive audience. Oh, wait a minute, hey look, feds, look, they limited us to triple what we can get right now. Let's suck this shit up and let's give the people less benefits too, because look, they don't require half as much of the shit as we're given. And you think I'm kidding. I mean, I realize I did that in a humorous way. I actually practiced that. But I'm not kidding. That's really how it works. You know, I understand that you're somewhat of a scholar of socialist, Marxist, Stalinist styles of government. We do not have that here. I'm not sure if it was your wife or one of the female senators that hangs around with you, and I'm referring to Wasserman Schultz and the other ditzy blonde because I can't remember which one it was. But, I mean, I know Wasserman Schultz was the one that said, oh, we're not referring to the Constitution on that. You, sir, as president, when she said that, should have, at that point, politely asked her to step down, because everything that anyone remotely in conjunction with Congress does when they are performing their duties, creating legislation, which become our laws, I mean, come on here, not only should they be doing due diligence and saying, well, all right, look, 500 years from now, can somebody misquote this and go, fuck, we can take over the people. We can micromanage every fucking aspect of their lives. And that's a major problem because there is a lot of sloppy legislation coming out. And the executive office is not any less guilty. I mean, some of the drivel that I see on opencongress.org, fuck, I can get through the scope of intent on some of them and see holes coming in it, and sure enough, they're always there. You know, some of your executive orders are really vague, leaving for broad interpretation that could allow misuse. And quite frankly, I mean, that bothers me. I don't really care about the gun legislation. I understand that you're only going to limit the availability of these guns or whatever. And you're going to limit people to somebody can't make more than 10 round clips or some shit. I understand that nobody's going to have to surrender their 15 round clips for their M1911, which is something that, actually that is something that I truly value, my Second Amendment right. And to be quite frank, I would rather, key word here, rather, know that if somebody comes through my door at night and they didn't knock, ring the doorbell, or otherwise allow me to know who they are and what their intentions are before they entered my home, I really want to give them to, I really would rather have the chance, just the chance, even if I don't get the job done. It would make me a million times happier to know that the government is secure in the fact that the only reason that I want a pistol in my home, and the other guns, well, some are just cool to look at, you know what I'm saying? But the reason that I want one in there is because the real world response time for the police is 10 to 15 minutes. Unless you live in a rural area, then it might be as much as a half an hour. Guess what? The average response time of an M1911 is almost 1,700 feet per second. And depending on how hot a loader you're running, you can go down as low as 1,400, and you can probably get her up to the bullet splitting by the time it comes out the barrel, if you think you can hold it with that hot powder in there. Actually, I don't think you're going to do that with powder, but there are alternatives to gunpowder. And I mean, quite frankly, the timing on these executive orders in regards to guns, timing is horrible, dude. You've got videos all over YouTube of military helicopters practicing attack maneuvers on Miami. Not over Miami, they were practicing attacking buildings within Miami. That shit ain't right. You just gave Homeland Security and TSA and the IRS over 1.5 billion rounds of ammunition. What the fuck is that about? Oh yeah, that's right, you're going to turn them into our homeland military. And now we are seeing, I'm hoping to God it's not true, but now we're seeing articles all over the internet about you are only wanting officers in the military who are willing to fire on Americans. Maybe that's, I couldn't even bother to read that because there was no way that my mind wanted to believe that. But if that is true, then why would you want to be president of this country? You see, we believe in the Constitution, we believe in the Bill of Rights. Declaration of Independence, not so much, but you see, the Declaration of Independence kind of expresses what this country was about to begin with. We came here to get away from the same unfair taxation that is happening right now. We came here, our ancestors, fuck. Our ancestors, our forefathers, whatever you want to call them, came here to get away from way too high taxes and a government that was trying to manage every aspect of their lives. I've seen legislation and I've seen draft executive orders that allow the federal government to seize personal property and food. I'm sorry, but that kind of thing should never go on, because part of liberty is being able to own whatever you're able to buy with whatever you lawfully and legally make. And the corruption in government, this is what makes me feel that I am not getting my tax dollars worth. The level of corruption that I have seen in government from 2006 until now has escalated, and I've been watching things a long time. We have guns going across the border and nobody going to jail for it. You know, that little gun walking scandal there. I'm going to mention no names, but its initials is Fast and Furious. You know, somebody needs to be in prison over that one because Americans died and firearms were unlawfully exported. Plain and simple, and they were given to drug cartels. I mean, basically, hey, here, look, here's some new toys you can attack Americans with. That's pretty much what happened there. And even if it was just somebody making a plain, totally stupid fucking decision, great, get them for criminal negligence. I don't care. Somebody needs to be in prison over that one. You know, and this Benghazi thing, yeah, okay, I think it was just a matter of Hillary was incompetent. But there's only so many people that can order an entire general to stand down. And whoever ordered those generals and that admiral to stand down needs to stand responsible for the deaths of those Americans. And I understand if, you know, it's bad for your political party or whatever, but, you know, things like that, and the Muslim Brotherhood over in Egypt just getting a whole, what was it, 160 armored cars and some F-16s with no agreement that they would ever pay us for them. Foreign aid going to India and China, and hell, China's doing better than we are. We don't need to be sending them foreign aid. We need to be sending them payments and saying, hey, look, all right. At least trying to knock down the interest or something, you know what I'm saying? We don't need to be sending money to Greece, no matter how bad off they are. We were already trillions in debt at that time. We did not need to be involved in Syria with as much debt as we had already incurred at that time. I mean, our grandchildren are in $51,000 in debt right now. How long can the federal government continue to maintain the size that it is without breaking the Americans' back? Take the income that you've already got coming in and shrink the government down to size to where it can successfully operate within those financial means. Don't punish the American people, because from your side, I have seen laughable budgets. From the Senate side of Congress, I have seen completely bogus budgets, pretty much smoke and mirrors. I mean, I've seen cuts in there that, wait a minute, we're not even spending that. It was a projected item that we're not even spending. And there was no correlating item that it was replacing either. You know, so whatever item it should have been replacing, they forgot to cut that. And I'm being polite, but I'm giving you examples that I have been reading through a lot of this stuff. I mean, I can understand why the Senate can't get a budget to pass. I can understand why Congress, the Republicans in Congress are just, the House, I can understand why the House is just ripping their hair out. I mean, Boehner even seems like he's trying to give up, and I mean, he was kind of our last hope that we'd get real cuts, and now it's Ryan, and Ryan, I don't think will get the position to do anything, unfortunately. Maybe we get lucky and he does. But, I mean, it's not a matter of their caving, it's a matter of they're ripping their hair out going, God damn, all these fucking Democrats, they can't even come up with a budget that they would vote on, like 17 in favor. Hell, the House Republicans send budgets over. Reed won't even put them on the floor. What the fuck's up with that? And that is not conducive to the America I grew up with. You know, our government, with all taxes being voluntary, up until 1916, before we got stuck with the IRS, we had fought, what, 7 real wars, 8 if you count, yeah, okay, we'll say 8. And the tax rate was 0%. See, that was because the government operated within its financial means, and it operated for the American people. It was because they kept within their constitutional boundaries, and the only taxable things were alcohol, tobacco, firearms, income derived from criminal activities, gambling, oh, and if you were a federal government employee. But that was, you know, the government got along just fine. The people got along just fine with the government operating within its constraints. The problem to our economy right now is not that Americans aren't willing. The problem with our economy now is not that Americans are unable to get by, because believe me, we are. You know, you see the kid in McDonald's with the Obama phone, you see the little crackhead with the Obama phone, it doesn't matter. You know, that's not really an entitlement. All they're doing is calling their girlfriends making crack deals. You think I'm kidding, but that's the reality of it. Kid at McDonald's, that's all he does is call his girlfriend. That little fucking crackhead, that's all he's doing is trying to buy that shit. I mean, I don't even let the motherfucker come around me anymore because I got tired of hearing about it. I mean, I don't want to know that somebody's doing something, no. But I mean, a little bit of weed, I don't care. They can talk about that shit all day long. Me, I'm from the school of I am not above. In fact, I may very much enjoy going out to these sand islands in the intercoastal and just picking some of the wild, smoking it right there, never carry any with me. Fuck, shit's there all but about 4 months of the year. Never have to buy it. I don't know if it grows wild or if it's from people getting scared of the Marine Patrol and throwing their bags out all these years, but who gives a shit? It's better than, say, Tennessee ditchweed. Ain't quite as good as Alabama Kush though. But you know, I mean, the rules are you pick what you want, you smoke it right there, you never carry any with you, and you never have any more in your hand than you can pop in your mouth and swallow real quick. You know, or if you're in the water, just let that shit float loose. No. Don't try and sit in the water and smoke one in front of one of those islands. Then big boats come by and then waves come up and put your weed out. Usually fuck up your lighter too, no matter how high you try and hold that son of a bitch. When you go backwards, it goes in the water and then it's fucked for a half hour or so. You know, the economy is truly suffering now due to Obamacare. Companies, small to large, have cut back employees to 30 hours a week. And I'm very proud to say that I'm American, because I'm noticing that even in this economy, people are out trying to get a second job. They're hustling fenders on the side, they're hustling lawns on the side, they're hustling tree trimming on the side, pressure washing. I'm seeing Americans doing what Americans do. We're doing what we got to do to get by. And they're going to the very few avenues that are left for them without government interference. Because government interference, this Obamacare Act, and increased taxes, yeah, and you know, I mean, you've got this National Labor Relations Board, which is mostly union folks. Damn. See, the average real working man has no voice in Washington, because the average real working man, there's no real organization, it's just everybody. Nobody gives a shit, nobody, you know, all they know is they ain't got time for it, they're just working, trying to get by and hoping like hell the government gets off their fucking backs, because the government on the back hard. And if the little man ain't making enough money to survive, the big man ain't making enough money to survive. And it doesn't trickle up. If the corporations are making money and they can afford to stay in business, you know, no, quite frankly, I understand that at the federal level, the government has no control over what the states do. But at least at a federal level, make it to where a union can never be made mandatory. Make it always, motherfucker got a right to work. Because right now, you see, in America, people are working 2 and 3 jobs just to get by and pay their rent and shit like that. And raising the minimum wage isn't going to help. I mean, I understand that nobody has brought that up in the past 6-7 months or so. And then it was only a passing comment, but every time the government's raised the minimum wage, well, for the first month or 2, people were able to buy more stuff. But after that, the dollar was worth less because everybody in business went, hey, wait a minute, all these motherfuckers got more money. Shit, jack the prices. And then the money was worthless because you had to spend more of it to get what you wanted. Bailing out these banks, all these Wall Street investment bankers and these big banks, and bailing out these corporations, well, again, government interference in business should not happen, because part of liberty is that we all have the right to achieve. We all have the right to succeed, as long as we're not breaking any laws doing it. We also all have the right to fail. And had those banks failed, I think it would have been a wonderful thing, because we'd have seen a lot of those CEOs go to prison where they belong. I mean, there is fraud in that industry on unprecedented levels. You have multiple cases right here in Florida where mortgage brokers and lenders have forged signatures. And I've seen a couple of cases where thankfully people got their house anyway because mortgage company forged their signature and the original one went out of business or whatever. But I don't think that's right that nobody's going to jail over that. I don't think it's right that I can look around on YouTube and see TSA agents feeling up 6-year-old girls and not going to prison. I mean, quite frankly, we've got kitty pervs everywhere in America. I understand this, but quite frankly, I think that shit's wrong that he didn't go to prison. We've got TSA agents keeping pictures of people, whatever. We've got TSA agents fucking squeezing people's colostomy bags and shit, and not going to jail. I mean, hell, that's at bare minimum felony fucking assault right there. Ooh, God, that would hurt. You know, and what's really sad is these TSA agents are keeping their jobs. Homeland Insecurity is also equally as corrupt. TSA has not succeeded in its mission. I mean, as far as I know, it hasn't caught any terrorists. Homeland Insecurity, yeah, okay, they've done a little bit, but as far as I know, for the most part, they've basically been making Americans' lives miserable and interfering with our basic freedoms. Neither program, I feel, is very successful, unless their intention is to actually micromanage every single aspect of every American's life, which is not what liberty entails. You have go right anywhere on YouTube, and you can see cops beating up their girlfriends, and you can follow up on it. You'll see that they never went to prison. They might have got a fucking administrative reprimand. You'll see cops unlawfully entering people's houses without a warrant. They never go to prison. I'm sorry, that is corruption. They should be going to prison. They should be getting the maximum sentence because they were entrusted, they were given the public's trust to uphold the very laws that they're sworn to enforce. And then they broke them. You know, it's things like that that make me feel that I'm not getting my tax dollars worth. I mean, I am forced, because of my property taxes, I'm forced to actually live on less than $17,000 a year. And I really don't feel that I'm getting my tax dollars worth, because when I surrender my tax dollars, what I expect is an honest government that no matter what they do, they comply with the Constitution, they respect the Bill of Rights. They respect Americans and the fact that America has always stood for freedom. That's the government I expect to receive in exchange for my tax dollars. And I'm sorry, if anything I have said offends you, tough shit. I pose no threat to you in any way, shape, form, nor fashion whatsoever. I am merely exercising my First Amendment right to free speech and expressing my mind. There's no way I would ever go after a politician. Ain't none of them worth my time. There's no way that I would ever go after anyone. I mean, I can barely ride to my shop most days. And when I'm there, I'm lucky if I can stand up. If there's a bunch of people around and I have to stand up all day, by the end of the day, I'm fucking miserable. I come home, I pass right the fuck out. So I pose no threat in any way, shape, form, or fashion, unless you come within close proximity of me. And then if you try and tell me that somebody's entitlement, you know, say them people on Section 8 housing in $500,000 neighborhood. See, if somebody wants to live in a $500,000 neighborhood, they don't need no Section 8 housing. They need to go get a job where they can afford to do that. Meantime, give them a fucking $200 a month trailer up in Coleman, Alabama. I'd probably chuck a paper clip at your head. Well, no, that'd be a sharp object. I guess I'd have to make a paper football. Because I know what your Secret Service boys around, that's all I'd get away with. Probably wouldn't get away with that, damn it. But, and granted, I'm the first one that if they ever try you for treason, yeah. That whole firing squad, I believe I'll make sure that they've got free kegs of beer every weekend for the rest of their life. But unless that happens, oh well. Me personally, I pose no threat. And anyway, that's all I've got to say. We'll holler at y'all fuckers and fuckheads later.